Two, one, take it away.
Cool. Right. So this is my talk on hacking finances to get rich as fuck. Quick disclaimer that everything I'm telling you is like my own opinion. It's not me giving you proper financial advice. So make your own decisions and take your own risks.
Thank you. Sorry.
The dodgiest of the morning.
Sorry about that.
All right. So yeah, this unfortunately isn't going to be clicking. There we go. Yeah, this is going to be just a journey on your personal finances as opposed to actually hacking banks. So hope. But yeah, we're just going to talk about how you can save money in a more effective way and then eventually build that into something actually worthwhile and take care of any debts that you might have. But yeah, we're going to be basically following the UK personal finance, the Reddit like workflow that they've got, so you can like follow it through. But phase one is budgeting, paying your bills, necessary expenses, and expensive debts. So step one is make a budget. You want to know what your spending consists of. You want to make lists of any expenses that you have going out, but specifically on your needs. So things like the house you live in, make sure that you still got a roof over your head. Any bills for water, gas, electric, make sure that those don't stop. Cars, if you need to get to and from work, because that affects your income. And then just limiting discretionary expenditure. So things like getting Deliveroo every single day, or like spending on hobbies that cost a load of money, like and then limiting infrequent large expenses. So some examples of what these like specific expenses could be. So like council tax, energy bills, phone, insurance, transport, car payments. Some of them, like council tax, for instance, if you don't do that, you'll end up in prison. But the main thing is changing your behavior. So you want to stop overspending on stuff that you can control. So if you're spending loads on takeaway and like going out to eat, taking that inside and actually like cooking and like learning how to do things that don't cost a fortune, actually those pounds add up over time. And then get comfortable with reasonable spending. So if you want to spend on some nice things, you don't have to completely limit yourself. There are like some fun money that you can spend going out to like music festivals and stuff like that. If you've got the money to do it, then you can absolutely go ahead and spend. You don't have to be a complete Scrooge like me. So yeah, benefit entitlement. Step two is if you are entitled to benefits, absolutely claim them. It's free money. It's money you're entitled to it. So yeah, absolutely take advantage of that additional income. Question: do you rely on credit cards or loans for your essential spends? Because if you do, that's not good. Yeah, it could be someone else's credit cards. True. So if you do, you want to prioritize the important bills, ones that like keep the roof over your head, spending on like electric, gas so you don't die. What are priority debts? So things like court fines. If you get bailiffs coming and evict you, it's not good. TV license can send you to jail. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the TV license, I don't pay my TV license because I don't watch live telly. But if fuck BBC. But yeah, if you are watching TV and without a license and you get caught for it, depending on the severity of like how often you're doing it, you can get a prison sentence out of it. So it's pretty dodge. So yeah, you don't want to be visited by bailiffs. You don't want to get court summons for like civil debts that you owe. You want to not go bankrupt, hopefully, because that's a whole like use case in itself. Make sure that gas doesn't get cut off. Don't want to lose your home, and then imprisonment if you don't pay council tax and TV license specifically. So non-priority debts, these are things like overdrafts, personal loans, bank, building society loans, water bills, money borrowed from friends or family, credit cards, store cards, catalog or home credit. All of those cannot be paid with some fairly like lower risk. You'll still get like civil claims for it, but it's not going to get you evicted. Your water isn't going to get shut off because illegally they're not allowed to. So yeah, all of these are pay later sort of things. And then finally, seek some debt counseling because you probably need it. So debt advice, you can go to National Deadline, Citizens Advice, and Step Change. All of these offer like really good support for getting out of debt. So if we go back down the good path, step 3 is to insure your essentials. So like your car insurance, home insurance, life insurance, and income protection. Life insurance doesn't really benefit you. If you die, your dependents then get a nice payout. But if you've got a family, it's quite important. If you're single, not so much. Income protection and redundancy protection are very good. So income protection saves you if you are suddenly ill. You'll get a payment for like the duration of the illness effectively. And redundancy protection gives you a steady income if you're made redundant. So you suddenly don't have an income anymore. Like you still can pay your bills, you can still live in your house. And then these are just links to how to look up where you can get those. So step 4, make minimum debt payments. If you do have debts, make the minimums, like so that they don't then escalate and then you don't get charged for them. You don't get bailiffs coming after you if you're not paying them. It's just to kind of keep going sort of thing. But the key thing is, do you have debts over 10% APR? So that is a very high percentage of repayment that you have to do on it. So if you do, you should be overpaying those debts as quick as you can, focusing on the higher interest ones because you want those out of your life as quick as possible. So if you are in that situation, you want to take stock of where you are, find possible ways that you could manage debt, increase your income, get extra jobs, work overtime, work out what approaches you can do to make a dent in that debt to get rid of it. And then also you want to list off all your debts, make sure that you're tackling the highest interest ones. You know things that you need to do to pay these down. Some of them can get wiped out. So irresponsible lending on behalf of the lender. If they're found to be irresponsible, you can actually take them to court and get it deleted. And then some of them have time limits as well. So if you have a debt and you've not made a payment and they haven't contacted you within a 6-year period, that debt falls off 6 years. It then becomes statute barred, so which means they're not allowed to enforce it. So you no longer in the debt, it's free money that you got. Thank you very much. And it also applies to mortgages, but the time limit is 12 years. So if you find yourself in a house, you stop paying and they stop chasing you, you get a free house. Like, amazing. And again, seek debt counseling if you're still down the bad path. So yeah, phase 2, emergency fund. If we're in a better position, you don't have mega debts, start building an emergency fund. It's just sort of saving the first 1 to 5 months worth of like your expenses, not total income, just to get you through a couple of months should something go wrong. It's supposed to be instantly accessible, so it's got to be cash, it's got to be fluid. You can't just have it in like a house and sell the house and get the money. It's got to be readily available. It's there for when you actually have like your car breaks down or you break your leg or something, like some actual like emergency situation. That's the only time you're allowed to touch it. And then as soon as you do touch it, you have to replenish it before you do anything else like saving. So pension enrollment, yay. So phase 3, enroll into your workplace pension. Make sure that you maximize your employer match. And the reason for that is if you opt into the workplace pension, it's legal now, they actually have to do it, but back in a couple of years ago, it wasn't like an enforced thing. But this is effectively part of your salary. You get paid an amount by your employer, you just can't touch it until you're in your 60s. So if they have a match, so in my case, I have a 6% paid by the employer if I don't contribute anything. If I contribute another 6, they'll match it to another 6. You end up with an 18% part of my salary is pension. So yeah, it's like 12% money for nothing, like do it. You get tax relief on your contributions. So anything that you decide to commit to the pension pot, you save instantly on the tax because you don't pay income tax at all. So if you're in the 40% bracket, or worse, if you're in the higher, like over 100K brackets, you'll start saving like mega money. There's a limit on how much you can pay per year, which is about £60,000, and that includes both your and the employer contributions. So it can be quite significant. And then, yeah, phase 4. So we're going to assess our debts. So do we have any other debts? So we don't have any crippling 10% debts. We might have some other ones that are kind of not a mortgage or a student loan. So like personal loans, maybe we wanted a nice TV, get rid of that. So make a schedule to pay this down. You can use things like the avalanche method. So the avalanche is paying the highest interest rate debt first. So every piece of money you put into it, and you pay the minimums on all your others. So effectively that will take longer to pay your first debt off because it's probably the biggest, highest interest. But eventually they'll all be gone. If you don't want to do it that way and you want to do the snowball method, it's kind of the opposite. So rather than paying the highest interest, you pay the smallest balance, and then that gets rid of a couple of payments to certain lenders. But then your biggest ones are kind of left to the end. So it's good if you struggle with seeing a benefit from paying it off. So say if you've got like a 20K loan and then you've got another debt that's say £10 or something, you can pay off your 20 and see nothing happen while you're paying that off, and your £10 one's still there getting interest. You might want to get rid of that first and then do the big one after. So full emergency fund. If we don't have any debts, you've got your emergency fund, you move into the full emergency fund. So you want to increase your fund from 3 to 12 months if you can. Nice big pot of cash. Again, that just saves you. It is so that then saves you for a year. So if you basically, if anything went horribly wrong, you've got a whole year to just sit back and chill and play video games and do whatever you like, or get another job and start earning money again. So yeah, then you define some goals. So we've got a shitload of money. What we're going to do with it? We want to spend it on some fun things. So we can review the budget, see what discretionary spending we might want to increase. We might want to go and get Deliveroo every day finally. We might want some other things that we want, like a helicopter or whatever. So then we're going to define some goals. So we've already got the budget. We've paid off all the debts. We've got an emergency fund. Time to think about what we want to buy. So short-term goals, so under 5 years. These are things that we want to get fairly quickly. You obviously need to save for them. You need money to buy them. So this is where cash ISAs, savings, premium bonds, all these things come in. So effectively, you still need to kind of budget to get to the goal. So you can list out things that you want, what time frame you want to earn them in, and then kind of budget yourself how much you need to be putting away to buy them, rather than just credit carding it, getting it straight away and paying the debt after. So some examples of goals: you might want to buy some new electronics. Switch 2's coming out soon. Buy vehicles, weddings, buying a home, taking a year off work. That would be nice. So yeah. Are your short-term goals on track? So are you buying the things that you want? Are you struggling to pay for them? If you are struggling, then you have to go back to step 10 and save more money. So yeah, phase 8. So long-term goals. These are things that probably will take you a significant part of your lifetime to get to. There we go. I didn't hear what that was, but so do you have any debt whatsoever? This includes mortgages. This includes student loans. Yeah, a horrible word. So assess whether or not you can make overpayments to those, whether they align with your goals. If overpaying your mortgage is still less effective than chucking it into the stock market, then you might want to hold back and do that instead. But yeah, just kind of consider like what sort of things you can spend on. Is your pension on track? You might want to throw money into your pension rather than throwing it into the house. It's kind of just balancing kind of what kind of goal you want to get to at the end of the day. So differences between overpayments versus cash. So mortgage overpayments provide risk-free return. The only thing that is different on a cash basis is that one's going into your house and one's going into a nice cash pot. So one is liquid, one's not. But effectively the interest rate is potentially the same if you've got a good savings rate. So there's not a mega deal there. But when it comes to investing, your interest rate on your mortgage, you might be saving like 3, 4, 5%, whereas in the investment side of things, you might be ending up with sort of 7, 10, potentially 30% if you've had one like last year. So yeah, it can be quite a significant gain if you actually just chucked it into investments. And student loan for payments. So if you if you project out where your loan is going to be within the years that you're potentially paying it off, if you are getting to the case where you're going to pay it off and you know you're going to be employed for that length of time, it makes sense to pay it off now and not get all the interest payments added to it, so you can get rid of it. So mine's 0 now, but it was 28,000 when I finished uni. So
1 year.
Scammed, yeah. So long-term tax-efficient investments in low-cost index funds. This is like one of the best methods for saving money and getting returns out of the stock market. Depending on, well, actually, we'll get to that in a minute. So the differences between ISA and pension. So ISAs, if you're in a stocks and shares ISA, you put your money into that. You don't get the tax efficiency from your income, so you just get the free capital gain, or you don't get any capital gains on the money that you're gaining from the asset increase. Whereas with pension, if you put your money into pension, even if you paid after the tax, the government will then top up your pension with that tax that you paid. So you'll get additional contributions if you just throw money into pension. And a lot of pensions will let you use the stock market and you can play with it within your pension as opposed to within an ISA. I've got a little example there. So yeah, so pensions, you can pay up to 60,000 a year into them, has the highest rate of tax reduction. Interest on them is tax-free, but you do pay tax when you withdraw because you basically create an income for yourself from that money and then you're taxed on that income. So if you decide to pay yourself a massive income, you pay loads of tax on it. You can only withdraw it once you hit pension age. The treatment for means tested is nil. So if it's in a pension, you don't have to worry about, you can still get like state benefits because it isn't means tested. Whereas if you're in stocks ISAs, you'd have to expunge all the savings in order to get the benefits. And then when you die, 100% of it goes to your beneficiaries if you die before 75, otherwise it's part of your estate. And then with the ISAs, it's always part of your estate, so you can't like get any reduction on that either. One of the key things on ISAs as well, which is shown here, so you can only use them for retirement or buying a first house. So if you're buying a house, it has to be under £450,000. And if you're retiring, it doesn't really matter. And then general investment accounts, those are the same as ISAs kind of, but you pay capital gains on them, like you don't get that benefit. They're not in that wrapper. So yeah, I've got a cheeky link there if anyone wants to click. Plot. But if you need that money after pension age and you're just hoping to just chuck it there and forget about it, the best place for it is actually a pension rather than an ISA, because it doesn't really matter. You'll get all the benefit of your income savings. And then the other one, step 12A, is to invest in Bitcoins, memes, NFTs, day trading options, and magic beans. So how do I personally follow that guide? So I for my budget, when you're told to categorize your spending, I just do it through pots in my savings accounts. So all the bills go into a bill pot. Every month I throw enough money into there to cover the bills. Then you put in enough to cover you for like a daily spend throughout the month. Anything else that's left over goes into savings. And then investments. So if you've got the investments, you can put in your max there. And then, yeah, just kind of save in that, and it lets you wrapper it all up. Questions? Get your phones out. Yeah, do it. If you do that, I actually get Amazon vouchers, so we might be able to buy some more kit. Yeah, yeah. Well,
Better than pyramids.
go for it.
So you mentioned getting pensions that actually do stock investments on your behalf. So that would be like an index. All the pension schemes I've always done, I've been opted in through my employer. Is that an additional pension, or do I contact my employer and say, "Please set me up with this stuff"?
Yeah, so it depends. So some workplace pensions just put you into like a bucket, and then they still manage it. If you get a SIP, which is a self-invested pension, you're in control of it. So you can pick, like, if you go to Vanguard, get a pension pot there, then yeah, they'll manage it. And some of them you control, but you've got to get a fully managed one. No, sorry, a fully managed one is ones they deal with. The self-managed ones is the ones that you get to play with and pick the stocks. I can't. But it's up to you. If you wanted to get one that you can play with, like, that's basically your only route. So.
How much would you aim to overpay on your
All of it. So some of them are limited. So like when you get your mortgage, like you might only be able to put a 10% bonus on what your monthly is, but you got to check it out. But if you can make it earlier on, then obviously your total balance is going to go down quicker, so you pay less interest overall.
Do you consider premium bonds liquid or?
They are liquid. You can cash them out straight away. So you can treat them like cash, if more or less.
That's like a Trump coin.
Yeah, but then his wife brought a coin out, and then his wife tanked the Trump coin. So
That's good. Well,
Is buying a house better than paying off a student loan?
yes, yeah, especially if your student loan is going to get written off, because then it doesn't really matter if you never pay into it. Like,
Yeah.
So, like cautionary tale, you mentioned that you have debts that become essentially dead after a while. No longer, people can no longer kind of contact you or chase you for it.
Yeah.
I have seen a scenario play out where, like, a decade after the debt was considered dead, someone's been called up, and a private company has actually basically pressurized someone into agreeing to pay that debt again because they thought it was mandatory when it wasn't. It's not really a question; it's just something I wanted to bring.
yeah. And so yeah, that's kind of what kind of the talk's about. It's kind of raising a little bit of awareness. If you get a debt that you've not been chased for 6 years, it's can't be enforced. It's too tender. Yeah. So if someone, you literally tell them to fuck off. Like that's the advice.
That's the caveat that it could affect your credit score. I mean,
It doesn't affect your credit score. It's statute barred. Yeah. Yeah. The debt is gone effectively as soon as you hit that 6-year mark.
You're just voluntarily paying.
Yeah.
What do you have any advice to anyone here about like setting up their own companies and being contractors and things? Because I think the initial starting costs can be quite high, but then once you've set up your own company, then as long as you don't withdraw it, you only have to pay corporate tax.
Yeah. I got. Yeah. Being a self-employed worker is kind of a bit of like a different area. If you're a worker, then obviously you can take effect for the workplace pensions. If you work for yourself, then you're your own pension provider effectively. You can pay into pension pots through the company, and the company will effectively do the same thing, but it's different for self-employed. I haven't covered it, so yeah.
All right, thanks very much.
Got one more.